Bam. All right. So we are live right now, back in it. JA Movie News for the 31st episode, which is crazy. But basically, on this podcast, we usually talk about film and cinema. However, we're going to switch it up a little bit because there is some TV show topics that we want to talk about. But let's just dive in here with the first topic. Let me actually bring up some pictures really quick. All right. So, first topic is going to be about Joseph Gordon-Levitt, my favorite actor, for seemingly the longest time now. He's been working on Vertigo's Sandman, created by Neil Gaiman. But I think a couple weeks back, some shit like that. Unfortunately, it looks like Joseph Gordon-Levitt has completely dropped from the project altogether.
Yeah.
He made a huge Facebook post, which for some reason I was having difficulties finding, but I was able to find it on the site, which I can show you here. One second. But yeah, as you can see here, I'm probably just going to breeze through this first paragraph here. But so as you might know, his words, if you like to follow these sorts of things, a while back, David Goyer and I made a producing deal with Warner Brothers to develop a movie adaptation of Neil Gaiman's Sandman. Neil himself came on as executive producer. We hired an excellent screenwriter, Jack Thorne, and we started in on the ambitious task of adapting one of the most beloved boundary-pushing titles in the world of comics. I was pleased with the progress we were making, even though we still had quite a ways to go. Let me see. There's sort of like a short summary. So unfortunately, I decided to remove myself from the project. I came to realize that the folks at New Line and I just don't see eye to eye.
Wow.
So, granted, this is a bit of older news, but I kind of want to speak on it because, he's, like my favorite actor. I love what he's done with his company, Hit Record. And I thought this was a kind of a huge, heavy loss, Your thoughts on this situation?
Yeah, I mean, the whole Vertigo Comics Sandman 1 is like, a lot of people call it classic. In and of itself, there's never really been anything kind of like this on the stylization standpoint, even from an illustration standpoint. And so I remember when he had even made the announcement that he was going to be connected with it, and even with him and David Goyer and Neil, and I was like, it's all meshing up really well. The only thing that I was worried about was when Warner Brothers was rehashing everything and kind of jumping ship and trying to revamp what they were trying to solidify for their universe, and then to hear now, it had to get traded over to a different location, and then he's having to jump out. It's sad because I think that he would have not only done the character justice, but I think that having Neil involved, Goyer involved, and even like Warner Brothers, it would have been the perfect union. And it reminds me of a situation that happened with Keanu Reeves. And Keanu Reeves, he was initially supposed to be Spike. For many of y'all, like Cowboy Bebop fans, he was supposed to be Spike. And he was really connected to it, and it was all coming together, and it just kind of fell through. Same thing happened with, what is his name? Luke somebody, I forget his name. But he was supposed to be the Crow in the revamped version for the Crow movie. And now he had to drop out, the studio dropped out, and then now the director dropped out. And it's been happening. Like those small, subtle, awesome stories, just like this one, it's sad that they might never see the light of day, or at least for another 15 to 20 years when they could have already been made by now. And I think that part of that is because people are catering to what's hip, what's popular, and the studios are banking on a sure thing versus something that's ambitious and very brave. And I'm just kind of sad about it, honestly.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Because if you go to like Hit Records the website that's kind of dominant or owned, created by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. There's just it's just like a great place for like artistic expression, and you could see very quickly how like, oh my god, like this dude could have put together a hell of a film. So it's really unfortunate that they didn't see eye to eye. It's actually kind of fucked up because I feel like he and the crew that he was working with at the time they seemed to have a firm grasp of the source material. You know what I mean? I mean, granted, we didn't get to see like, you know, like a Bible-sized book of storyboards or, you know, specific explicit plans or anything like that. No, but I don't know, just the things that we're hearing from the development camp when he was involved, it seemed like they got it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's kind of a crucial blow, I think. That really sucks. One thing I do want to say as well, for those who are not familiar with the Sandman story, I mean, basically the main character is Dream, also known as Morpheus and other names, who is one of 7 endless. The other endless are Destiny, Death, Desire, Despair, Delirium, who was once delight and destruction. It's quite confusing. Who turns his back on his duties. Let's see here. The series is famous for Gaiman's trademark use of anthropomorphic personification of various metaphysical entities, while also blending mythology and history in its horror setting within the DC universe. So, damn, that's really, really unfortunate. So I guess, I mean, are you thinking that like the project is going to be in development hell for a while, or do you think like we're going to see an Ant-Man situation where it dropped from one person and into the fast hands of someone else?
I think that if Gordon hadn't left, I think if Joseph would have kind of stayed with it, and they maybe would have lost like the director, but then they would have kept the writer, then yeah, I could be inclined to believe that they would kind of still try to follow through with something. But because it's all gone, I really feel like that and The Crow are in the same state, that they're about to go downhill. Like it's going to be quite a while before anything happens with it. And to be honest, like I can see the same thing happen to Gambit, because if Channing Tatum leaves, they're not going to go anywhere with it. They're just going to add him as an add-on if X-Men Apocalypse does well. If it doesn't, it's definitely going to be delayed. But it's unfortunate because this was a really good buy. I think that this had as much potential as Suicide Squad does now, if they would have just kind of left it to the side as a great adaptation. And it's part of the same world, essentially. You know, it's just a whole different section. I think that they could have done what Star Wars is doing with Rogue One, essentially. It's just its own kind of thing. But you know what? It happens, unfortunately.
Yeah, it definitely it sucks. I don't know. It's interesting. Like, first off, I feel like the next Crow is like never going to happen, and if it does happen, it will fail. And I think that the comparison to Suicide Squad is actually pretty sound. As far as Gambit goes, though, real quick, I think even if Channing dropped out, I feel like they would rebound very quickly. That's just quick thoughts on that. But it really sucks about the Sandman situation. But let's skip on to the next category, though, which is about Captain America Civil War. You might know something about it. And there's 2 topics I wanted to touch on. So I want to touch on this image again. I know we discussed this in our last commentary about the last trailer, but I wanted to get your thoughts, Sam, because there's like this real fever going on that people for some reason think that the person in that tube is Quicksilver. Your thoughts? My quick thoughts is no. First off, I think the Quicksilver idea, for one, I think it's just blatantly stupid. Okay. Like I think the Marvel movies are pretty great, but I mean, for God's sakes, I mean, they can't just go back to this well again and again, where like they kill someone and the motherfucker just comes back like nothing happened. I mean, especially in this case, because like, what was it? Quicksilver got shot up or some shit, and he said something like, "You didn't see that coming" or some bullshit. It was like the most cringy death. I've never cringed more at death in my whole life, but nah, I don't think it's Quicksilver. I don't know who's in there because clearly there's a figure. At least it looks like it, there's a figure sitting in the tube, but I don't think it's Quicksilver. And if it was, I think that's just stupid. But your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so you remember we had the conversation like because we were just going through theory after theory after theory, and I had said in the beginning of that trailer, it had what looked to be the Winter Soldier in mask in a different like costume because his arm it had different like lights and it looked like a different arm. And so I was left to assume that maybe they might have cloned him. You know what I'm saying? And that to me that makes a lot more sense than the alternative that okay, hypothetically speaking, after Pietro got shot down, they used the machine, which I thought they were going to, since they used it on what's his name, Hawkeye, that little machine that actually regrafts tissue. Like, why couldn't y'all find a way of saving the ninja's life? You're just gonna leave him on a slab and just let him sit there. That didn't make sense. But anyway, regardless of his death, say hypothetically speaking, they say, all right, we were able to bring him back to life, or maybe the Germans took his body just like they did Bucky, quote unquote, and then now they're gonna turn him into an epic mutant weapon, and they're working on him to do this or that. Like, where the hell does that even come from? Like, it's not only redundant, it's a waste of time because they could have kept the ninja alive. One,
Right.
two,
Right.
they've already done this, and it alleviates you thinking, okay, well, if they can bring this ninja back that got shot down bad, then nobody's gonna be dead. There's not gonna be any solidification of anybody being predominantly dead. Versus my theory, which I think is a clone of Bucky. Like they created their own version.
Like I think that's a pretty sound theory. I'm just gonna bring up the image again because I can see some people are joining in now. But yeah, I think your whole spiel about it being a clone Bucky. I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, I don't know. That's so weird. That's like some shit. Even still till now, I haven't really thought too deep into. But it there's no way that's Quicksilver up in that bitch. And even if it was, it's dumb. Because like you said, this shit just kept him alive or some bullshit. But also it sucks all the meaning out killing the some bitch in Age of Ultron in the first fucking place. You know what I mean? Like it makes that whole scene with the sad music and the slow mo just seem completely worthless if he's just back and ready to go in action in this film, regardless of like where he's at morally or whatever the fuck. So.
Yeah, I mean, also like for Joss Whedon's standpoint, that'd be like a shot in his nuts because part of the reason was that he didn't want to kill Pietro, and basically they were like, okay, yeah, we're gonna kill Pietro. You don't have a choice in the matter. This, that, and other. And he's already made that really clear that it was a creative difference problem from his perspective of where it should go versus what happened. And I mean, the other thing is Aaron Taylor Johnson. He was signed on for 3 movies, and he only was in 1. So, I mean, the sad thing is, I could see Marvel pulling something like this, but I pray they don't. I pray it is that there's a rogue version of Bucky that's out there that was created that they've been also using that was the one that actually killed Chitala's dad. That's the one that actually has been doing these certain things, and probably the one that Captain America is ultimately going to have to either kill or get killed by. That to me would be more compelling than them just kind of having Pietro just, I don't know. I hated when they killed him, and I would even hate it even more if they try to fake bringing him back to life as some kind of like German secret experiment. Even though the Germans did create the powers for him and his sister, I mean, it just, I don't know, man. I hope they don't do that. They should have just kept the ninja alive anyway.
I mean, his death made no never mind to me because I thought that his character in the film was extraordinarily weak, and his accent was extremely suspicious. But I don't think that it's Quicksilver up in that bitch. So, and if it is, terrible idea. The other thing that I want to talk about with Civil War that people have been going nuts about is this image here. So this image, which is in the trailer, which, by the way, if you were not one of the spoilers, then you should dip. But in this this moment from the last trailer, in the background, right behind Captain America's head, it most certainly looks like Bucky laying face down. Well, actually, I can't really tell if he's face down. Oh, who gives a damn? It looks like he's Winter Soldier's laying on the ground with his metal arm kind of looks like it's been ripped off. So there's been a speculation, what if Bucky dies in this film? And to be honest with you, and you can go in and zoom in on this shit and whatnot. Other people already have for you, but I mean, I think it's a pretty sound idea. Now, unfortunately, every time I brought this up, people are just like he signed all them contracts, and they like freak out as if like they're just, I don't know, pineapples going up their ass. And I'm like, hey, fair enough, motherfucker. I'm just saying, I don't think the nigga's taking an afternoon nap. You know what I mean? So, and some people are like, oh, maybe it's an accident that the image is there. And I don't think it's an accident. There's no way if Disney speaks on this, they're going to be like, oh, whoops. You know what I mean? I think it's very much intentionally there. I mean, they have to go frame by frame through all of their fucking videos before they release it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think it's meant to be there. They wanted us to see it. No differently than, for some reason why they keep showing Rhodey being shot out of the sky situation.
Yeah.
So I heard some wise man was saying that, maybe in this war, there's a casualty from both sides, Bucky, Rhodey, dead. And for me, I think that's a really sound fucking theory. Is it true? I don't know. Fuck, it remains to be seen. But it would make a lot of sense. Your thoughts?
So, for me, there's a couple. There's a thing that came up today, and basically, it was that after Infinity Wars 1, Robert Downey Jr. said he would no longer be Iron Man. That's what he claimed. I have to go back and get the valid facts from that. The connection I make to that is the fact that if it is that the Winter Soldier died in that moment, that would be a huge waste on their end. Even though he's technically been in Captain America 1, he's been in the Winter Soldier, and now he'll be in this one. That's 3 movies. It would be emotional turmoil for Cap, but as far as what his character does, as far as mythology standpoint, as far as after or post Civil War, it'd be a really big waste if they just kind of killed him. I'm more inclined to believe that in the first trailer, you remember when like the epic moment when like Cap and Iron Man and the Winter Soldier are fighting, and like the Winter Soldier and Cap are like double teaming him. I think after that moment, that is when like Iron Man probably like severed his arm off and knocked him out. Maybe in spite, I'm not really sure, but I think that's when that happened, because at that time he still had his arm, and it's definitely the same setting. And I think he just got incapacitated, and so it was left up to Captain America to win the rest of this fight. And I think that was needed. I don't want that Captain America and Winter Soldier team up to be Iron Man. I want Captain America to win on his own.
Mhm.
And I think that the whole point of that picture for me was that, okay, Winter Soldier's been taken out of commission. This is really up to Cap. And this is really about their blood feud and their emotional jar situation that's going on. Like, because basically, okay, I took your friend out, you took my friend out.
Mhm.
They're not necessarily dead, but this is because of you, basically.
What do you think about the possibility that whether he's dead or not in that moment, regardless, what do you think about him like actually dying in Civil War? Bucky.
I think it would be a waste. I don't think it's a good idea at all. But that's just me because of my knowledge of who Winter Soldier becomes, his connection with not just Shield, Captain America, and the Avengers, but like literally what he does later on. Like you really need him. Like Sebastian Stan's character is almost more needed than Cap in a lot of different ways. In the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Sure.
And I think that's the reason why. I mean, if I took that out of the equation and I thought about it from a film standpoint, it would be really interesting. It would be really intriguing. It would be shocking because nobody would have necessarily seen that coming. But I just don't feel like they can do that in this movie.
I don't know. I mean, I definitely disagree on some points there. I mean, I think that I don't know about being a waste. I mean, all right. For me personally, if it were up to me, well, actually, if it were up to me, I probably would just kill Iron Man because I just like surprises. But I mean, ultimately, if it were up to me, I would just like definitively kill Captain America, like in this film. Like there'd be no that bullshit where like, oh, in Infinity Wars Part 2, they use the gems and he floats through the mud back to life. Like, no. Like, we're up to me, I would just kill the sumbitch, like, definitively. Like, he's just dead and gone forever. At least Chris Evans' version of him. And we just keep on trucking along to the story, just to honor the comic books. Now, I personally just don't. I just don't see them doing that, man. Personally, I've spoken on this before, so I don't want to get into the whole spiel too deeply here. I can touch upon it more in the future, but bottom line, I don't think the Iron Man's dying in this movie. Don't think Cap's going in this movie. You're left with some intriguing options outside that. Bucky dying, I think, would be, and Rhodey dying would be, I think, fantastic choices for the story. It's definitely would be a shock for sure. And also this whole thing about, Captain America, Chris Evans, Captain America dying, so that was it Sebastian Stan or something takes over as Captain America. Look, no offense to the actor, but like that's another thing. I'm not really that hot on the idea of this dude's like, oh, now he's Captain America. Like he's been cool as like almost like a feature, but like I can't really see myself like just imagine Cap dying in this movie, and then like there's another Captain America movie soon. I don't know. Let's say after Infinity Wars, and then Infinity Wars, he's got this huge arc, Bucky as Captain America. I don't think he'd be that followable. I mean, I feel like I'd be taken out of it. I mean, he's cool as a feature, but like Chris Evans is Captain America. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's where it falls in between the cracks, honestly. Because the thing is, in the comics, that's what happens. Like after Captain America dies,
but
it's like
adaptations take hard less. But
that's the thing, because the cinematic universe versus the comics, they are night and day. Like this Civil War that we're getting is a playground versus the real UFC brawl that we're supposed to get. Sure. We're getting crumbs only because of the way that this is platformed, but it doesn't mean that the movie can't be compelling. It doesn't mean it can't be huge in its own right because of the awesome actors that they have. The problem is that the comics and the cinematic universe, they're so different. And it's like there are things that just will not work because of the way that this movie cinematic universe is set up. It's just like even Spider-Man. In the Civil War, the biggest thing that happens in Civil War is Spider-Man reveals his secret to everyone. And he decides that, he's been playing it safe. He's been been Spider-Man, and he's like, I need to go with Tony's side because I need to not let people think that I'm a vigilante, but that they can trust me, that I'm an agent of justice. And as a casualty of doing that, Aunt May gets shot. And that's one of the biggest shocking moments, that he reveals himself just to have it fall back on him. If Spider-Man went up in this movie and took his gosh darn mask off, there'll be no relevance at all, because one, everybody knows who everybody's identity is. There's no secrets. And then two, this ninja ain't even been in the cinematic universe. So it's like things like that are epic can't happen. Nor can they have like the X-Men being featured in it, nor can they have like the Fantastic Four featured in it. It's like the rules are totally different. Can Sebastian Stan play Captain America for a portion? I think he can. I don't think he can have his own movie though. I don't think that he needs to be like, okay, this is his new movie. They could set it up and prime it like that, but I don't think that he could ever be the official Captain America. And even in the comic books, that didn't happen like that.
Yeah, and just to touch upon that, I mean, well, first off, him having his own movies, I don't think that'll work. And like for me personally, that would not work. But even with like, you know, just let's just say that the Infinity War Part 1 and 2, it's just Sebastian Stan as the forefront as Captain America. For me personally, that just doesn't really interest me. But that's just me. I mean, maybe I'll just be in the minority and everybody else will be happy. Or, you know, it's a completely different story. Maybe he's Captain America and he's better than Chris Evans somehow, you know. You never know. But at the current time, I'm just highly skeptical.
Yeah. I will say this to add on and find the finish off, because we're talking about this too much, is that I had the comic when Bucky became Captain America. And I have to say, I loved his version of Captain America, because the thing was, he was so much more volatile. He carries this huge knife with him. He used the sword, but he also is not afraid to use guns either. And it's like the dude is just a straight G. Like he keeps the same movements and usage of like Captain America, but he also makes a whole different spin on how he treats the villains and even the heroes. And it was a really compelling story. And I would love to see that, but it just can't be a movie. That's the problem. It can't draw that long a time. But I really did like when that actually happened in the comics. I thought they did a good job with it. And the costume was dope.
Yeah. But yeah, those are some of our thoughts on that. That conversation became a little bit bigger than I anticipated. But I think ball sack. We're gonna try for one more topic. Keep it brief, because I actually really wanted to talk about this way more than Civil War, ironically. But let me get the screen share going really quick. So I did want to touch on AMC's upcoming show, Preacher, based off the Vertigo comic book series that is already, you know, done and computed. And they just announced that the first episode should be coming out in May. And I don't know about you, but like I'm personally fascinated by this project. For those of you who don't know, just to kind of give you a quick rundown, the main character, I believe his name is Jesse Custer or something like that, a preacher in a small Texas town. But basically, I'm just gonna chop it up my way. But basically, he's being affected by this creature called Genesis, which is basically like a demon and an angel mixed together, which is like a huge like anomaly in this world. You know, this creature could be more powerful than God himself, and this causes like some really bizarre situations from what I was skimming through of like the comic book synopsis, the main synopsis. I mean, and something about like God abandoned heaven itself the moment that this creature Genesis like came into being. Really fascinating. And this main character, this preacher, and these characters are trying to like track down God himself, literally. And there's just a whole bunch of other crazy shit. It's just batshit. But yeah, that kind of gives you sort of like a general gist of what's going on here. I think there was a new trailer, but I don't think it's like officially out. I think it's leaked or something. So I'm really curious about that. There's already been some reviews on episode 1, which have been all pretty damn positive, I do say. Some people are even saying this could be like, the next Walking Dead, so to speak, in terms of, comic book adaptation on AMC. But I'm really fucking excited about it. Your thoughts on this whole project?
Yeah, I know that there was one that I think that Kirkman had actually found home with Cinemax. It was called Outcast. That, like, I mean, this joint is volatile. And it's supposed to be debuting like June the 3rd as well. And it's kind of like straight horror, but very vicious. And I heard about Outcast first, and then I heard about Preacher. And I know that Preacher is a comic book, like a lot of people really love it, from Vertigo. And I mean, from a DC standpoint, like this is their rated R. They have full reign of doing any way they want to with it. But DC, they've been doing a really good job, just first off, with the shows that they have and their animated movies. They've got on CW almost everything lined up. And now they've put out this, and it's like, I think that as far as the comic is concerned, it's going to become a cult classic. As far as TV shows are concerned, even like people that are lovers of The Walking Dead and just the comic book genre in general, they're going to gravitate to this and love it more so than I think the Fox show that just kind of came out about Lucifer, which is really campish and really stylized, and it really doesn't do much for me or other people personally. I know some people are few and far between, but Outcast and Preacher, they're going to become like the new versions of The Walking Dead from the masses. For me personally, I try to go through and read The Preacher. I haven't read Outcast. It gets very, very structurally crazy. Anybody that's very religious or anybody that has specific kind of ideals on their perspective of like angels, hell, devils, and demons, they might find this very blasphemous. And I don't know how it's going to tailor when it comes out, like in general, to the masses, because I think there's some people that are not going to be able to watch it, even though it's going to be really well done. I think that Dominic is going to demolish it as this, because he's such a great actor. There was one movie, I forgot, he played like his twin. I forget the name of that one. But the dude he's going to demolish the role. I just don't know, for me personally, if it's something I'm going to watch. But I'm definitely going to be rooting for any, DC based or even comic based movie that has legs like this. And I think that the back end that they have for AMC, they're going to make it big. They're going to definitely hit it big.
I hope so. I mean, the all of the marketing, I think it's just been just purely fucking fascinating. I mean, again, I have not read the comic books. Apologies for any errors I might have made in describing the plot, but I mean, I think it sounds fucking fascinating. The guy was it Dominic Cooper, I believe his name is.
Yeah.
He just looks. I really don't know much about the fucking man, but he seems really dope in this role already. I really loved the first. I think it was just like just a 1-minute trailer, where he was like, how hurt you want him, how far you want me to go. I was like, oh shit, I like controversy, and for some reason people are just sensitive to that, even though like it is just a story, people.
Yeah,
it's fake. But either way, that shit doesn't bother me. I can't wait to see it. It looks really fascinating. Yeah, I'm curious about it. I don't know about if I'll be reading the comic book, but I will definitely be trying to get out a review like the night that premieres, because I'm curious like how the story affects people who have like never touched the comic books like me. So
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I'm more intrigued about, more so than like me, because I think the story and the plot going to be on target. And I think they got a great cast in general. I mean, when you talk about stuff like that, and you also deal with like vampires and other supernatural elements, that in and of itself is going to take those Buffy supernatural fans. They're going to gravitate towards it. Then you got the comic book fans that are like, wow. And so it's going to do good. I'm just curious about how the audience are going to respond to it. I think that's the really key thing, how it's gonna do as far as the general audience.
I'm thinking it should be really good. I know there's some really weird names involved. I know like Tom Cruise is supposed to be involved, or Seth Rogen's involved. It's weird, but I am definitely I am intrigued to say the least.
Yeah, Seth Rogen is actually the one that developed it, bro.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh my gosh.
I don't want to touch upon the Tom Cruise thing because I think that's actually considered to be a spoiler. But yeah, that's some of our thoughts on Preacher. Did you say that you'd be watching the premiere or no?
I'm on the fence. Like I said, I don't know if it's something that is gonna cater to me personally. I might fall under that demographic. Like this might be a little bit too much. But I think that I give anything a chance once. You know what I'm saying? Depending on how they actually take it. And at the same time, they have limitations as far as how far they can go. But I love the cast. Like I said, even the guy that plays the role of Cassidy, which is an Irish vampire technically. This dude's name is Joe Gilligan, and like there's this show that came on Netflix. A lot of people don't know, not Netflix, but Hulu. It's called The Misfits. Oh my gosh, dude! Like this is one of my favorite shows that lasted for about 3 to 4 seasons. That kept the same characters, and these characters branched off into some big stuff. And one of them even went to Game of Thrones, but the Misfits, like I remember him being up there, and I was like, dude, this dude is gonna be actually really good later on, and I'm glad that he got casted. So I actually really love the cast. So I might give it a chance. We'll see.
Sure. Okay. But yeah, you know, the Sandman, the most from Civil War that we discussed, and now AMC's upcoming Preacher. What are your guys' thoughts on this content and sort of what we spoke about tonight? Let us know in the comment section down below your thoughts, your feedback, and we're probably about to close out. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, Panther 7, he gave me the name. It was The Devil's Double, so shout out to him. Idris0110 was talking about Indiana Jones 5s. Maybe we'll talk about that another time, but that's definitely good news for me. I'll talk about why later. But yeah, y'all leave a like in the description bar below, and definitely we'll see you back next time.
Yeah. What is that? Indy number 5?
Yeah, it's been confirmed.
Okay. All right. Well, definitely, if you enjoyed the video, throw up a like and subscribe. If you have not, Indy 5 is probably going to be trash, and we're probably going to sign out. So, peace. Clock out.